Retaking the ASVAB. Rules and waiting times. But first, before we get started, check out asvabjoe.com for our practice test and study guides. You can't actually fail the ASVAB, but you can fail to achieve a high enough AFQT score to enlist in the service you want. If this happens, that means your AFQT score was too low, which in turn means you need to work on one or more of the four areas: math knowledge skills, arithmetic reasoning skills, reading comprehension skills, and word knowledge skills. Once you're sure that you are ready, you can apply through your recruiter for a retest. Minimum waiting times. ASVAB tests are valid for 2 years as long as you are not in the military. In most cases, once you join the military, your ASVAB scores remain valid as long as you are in. In other words, except in a few cases, you can use your enlistment ASVAB scores to qualify for retraining years later. After you take an initial ASVAB test, taking the ASVAB in high school does not count as an initial test, you can retake the test after 30 days. After the retest, you must wait at least 6 months before you retake the test again. When you retake the ASVAB, it is not your highest score that counts, but rather the score on your latest test. If you score lower on the retest, that is the score that will be used for your military enlistment. When you can and cannot retake the test. The bad news is that you can't retake the ASVAB on a whim or whenever you simply feel like it. Each of the services has its own rules concerning whether or not they will allow a retest. Army. The Army will allow a retest only if the applicant's previous ASVAB test has expired, or the applicant failed to achieve an AFQT score high enough to qualify for enlistment, or when unusual circumstances occur, such as if an applicant through no fault of his or her own is unable to complete the test. For example, an applicant is called away from testing because of an emergency. Army recruiters are not allowed to reschedule a test for the sole purpose of increasing scores to qualify for enlistment incentives, job qualifications, or other enlistment programs. Air Force. The Air Force does not allow retesting applicants after they have enlisted in the delayed entry program. Current policy allows retesting of applicants who are not holding a job, aptitude area reservation, and/or not in DEP but already have a qualifying AFQT score. Retesting is authorized when the applicant's current line scores limit the ability to match an Air Force skill with his or her qualifications. Navy. The Navy allows retesting of applicants whose previous ASVAB test has expired, or if the applicant fails to achieve a qualifying AFQT score for enlistment in the Navy. In most cases, individuals in the DEP cannot retest. One notable exception is the Navy's DEP enrichment program. This program provides the provisional DEP enlistment of high school diploma graduates with AFQT scores between 28 and 30. Individuals enlisted under the program are enrolled in academic enhancement training, then retested with the ASVAB, and accessed onto active duty provided they score a 31 or higher on the subsequent ASVAB retest. Marine Corps. The Marine Corps will authorize a retest if the applicant's previous test is expired. Otherwise, recruiters can request a retest as long as the retesting is being required because the initial scores do not appear to reflect his or her true capability. Additionally, the retest cannot be requested solely because the applicant's initial test scores did not meet the standards prescribed for a specific military job qualification. Coast Guard. For Coast Guard enlistments, 6 months must elapse since the applicant's last test before he or she may retest solely for the purpose of raising scores to qualify for a particular enlistment option. The Coast Guard Recruiting Center may authorize retesting after 30 days have passed from the initial ASVAB test if substantial reason exists to believe the initial AFQT score or subtest scores do not reflect an applicant's education, training, or experience. Alright guys, remember, if you want more videos like this, Subscribe or like our channel. Don't forget, visit asvabdrill.com.